Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session
with your host, Michael Rearden.
When was the last time you saw or took a look at your habits? Because when it comes to our daily routines, oftentimes those routines are going to be automatic. When you wake up in the morning, you do your typical routine. Maybe you get up out of the bed, maybe after some battle of hitting the snooze alarm, maybe just kind of ruminating in bed saying, oh my God, what I have to do today, or I don't want to go to work today, or maybe the kids are yelling and screaming and you're trying to get 5 more minutes of rest before you start your day. Then you get up, use the restroom, maybe brush your teeth. Then you head out, maybe you're brewing some coffee, some tea, or maybe making some breakfast. Some people are getting ready to just leave the house and go to the gym. Some people are late for work and they're manic in the morning and they're running around like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be late. So it doesn't necessarily matter what you do, but how you do it. Because if you're waking up in the morning with intention, all right, yeah, sure, you can do things that might not be beneficial long-term to success, discipline, right? Looking at your phone in the morning is one of the examples. Did you intend to do it, or was it automatic? Because there's a difference. Most of the time, when people are trying to get unstuck or get out of their daily habits, they're trying to figure out, well, what are the things that are keeping me here? But if you are perfectly content going on your phone, sure, go on it. But most people are not good going on their phone in the morning because it sets them up for a day that is going to be an interval day. And an interval day, I'm just going to call it is a series of ups and downs in your emotions and your minds and how you're regulated. Are you disciplined or are you not? There's things that we should wire our brain to think and to do. And there's things that we should avoid. For example, fast food. We know fast food is not good, but every morning we need something quick to get ourselves going. Give us a coffee and a donut. That compound interest every single day is going to begin to add up. And I said, there has to be something that we can do. There has to be something that we can focus on. And that led me to write this blog, TOS Part 68. It's a blog talking about our growth as people and how we can utilize our daily routines, our daily habits, our mindset, and we can put it all in one bundle and figure out what we need to do in order to grow. So today we're going to be learning how to train your brain to build lasting habits. Now, these habits that I'm talking about are positive. They're good habits. Of course, we can naturally build bad habits, negative habits, things that do not serve us. As I said early on, looking at your smartphone in the morning is not a good habit. Of course, it could be a good habit if you are a day trader. You go on your phone or you come into the office, you look on the computer, and you're looking at all the stocks, what happened when you were sleeping, you are preparing for the day. However, most people, they do the opposite. They say, I'm looking at what happened yesterday. What happened when I was asleep? So you go on Facebook. If anyone has some gossip, you go on social medias and you're like, okay, let me see what I missed. Let me see what I can like. Well, I would rather give you something else you can like. Your path, your life, your direction. That is something I would rather you focus on in the morning rather than things that are going to be a distraction nonetheless. Now, before we go on, TOS part or tune-up series, this blog series is going to be for people who are already in a good place. If you are like in a super negative spot, you're waking up, you don't know what to do, like literally your finances are a mess, you're going to have a lot more obstacles than the person who's just looking to level up. Typically, the tune-up series are for people who are leveling up, not typically people for, all right, let me change my whole life. It could be that start, right? It could be that spark that says, hey, wake up, start, do what you have to do. But for most people, it's not going to be that. It's going to be something that you have to read and then to internalize. And then once you have all this information, it's good information, you're going to say, let me begin the process. So we begin by talking about neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity, again, is just the brain's ability to rewire itself. So if you are thinking in a certain pattern, you don't want to think it that way. Sure, right? Let's change that pattern. Of course, it's not going to be a walk in the park sometimes. You can use it for habits like smoking, drinking, maybe even some views of how you look at your relationships, etc. And I know I get this question a lot when it comes to like life coaching versus mindset coaching. And mindset coaching is definitely focused more on the mind state, right? Neuroplasticity is looking at how can we change our wiring in our brain so we're thinking negative or thinking positive, the state or quality of our mind. Life, though, right? We're focused on something that we want. We want a better career. We want a better relationship. Now, of course, with mindset training, you go a little bit deeper. You say, well, why do I want a better relationship? Why do I need a better career? Am I not happy? So we look at all of those things and then we have a nice, neat package. And we say that if we go down this path, there's a very good, strong likelihood that we're going to find fulfillment, happiness, joy, all the good things in life. But we need to get out of our default mode. We need to get out of our regular thinking. Most people, again, like I said, are on autopilot. There is nothing wrong with being on autopilot if you are killing it, if you are a high achiever, if you're someone who does what they need to do every single day. I go to the gym. It's autopilot. It's default mode. I'm not fighting with myself all the time saying, do I have to go to the gym today? It's like it's on my to-do list or it's on my priority list or whatever you want to consider your list. I have to do it. It's the same thing as I have to feed my kids. It's the same thing as I have to have good communication with my wife. It's the same thing as I have to make sure that I'm the best person I can be. What is that for you? What is your default mode? Are you an asset to yourself or are you a liability? Figure that out. Then the second mode is learning mode, where we're consciously trying to develop new skills. This is going to be you're reading books, blogs, watching, listening to inspirational, motivational, educational content. When you're in the car is the best place to listen to motivational content, educational content, because you don't necessarily need to be entertained. You're already going to a destination. I understand your brain can be frazzled right now. You might have a lot of stress and you might not be able to intake everything. But there's always going to be some type of content out there that you can leverage in the current mood that you're in. Because I understand coaching in session can be a bit more complex to the brain. So you're thinking more rather than let me just kind of allow my brain to just be, this, autopilot thing, or to kind of wander, or to kind of be amiss and just not even be able to focus. It's like I'm going from A to B and you don't even see your drive. It's like autopilot. We're not driving Teslas, people. We're just literally not thinking about everything that's happening in the moment. Most people are just living on that autopilot when they're driving. The music that you're listening to, yeah, sure, you might move a little bit, you might sing a little bit, but at the end of the day, typically, if you're not intentful to listening to music like jazz or classical music, like how people listen to that, you're not going to necessarily get anything from it, right? It might uncover or it might mask a certain mood or behavior. And so it makes you feel decent. So like you're in the gym and you're basically listening to music to distract yourself. So you're not thinking about, oh man, I got to do another set. Oh man, like this is not fun. You would listen to music to distract yourself. But when you do the opposite and not listen to music, you become stronger in the sense of mental fortitude in the gym. So you have to figure out that balance for yourself. So when you're driving, you're already on autopilot. So you might as well listen to educational content. So you put yourself in the learning mode. Now, all of these things are going to create that intentional change for you. That change is going to be something that you should be looking at. And I have 6 steps here that I'm just going to be talking about very quickly. Number 1, you're going to start with awareness. Now, awareness is just your ability to pay attention. We talked about when you're driving, right? It's like automatic. But what if we switched it over to not be automatic anymore and we said, let's be intentful. about in driving. Now, I'm not talking about we are in the third lane and we're just kind of cruising and we need to make sure that no one's jumping in our lane and, there's accidents and there's debris in the road and we need to be focusing on all of these dangers, right? Because then our mind is going to be in that panic. It's like something is going to happen to me versus you should be, I guess you can say, confident, and you should trust yourself in your driving capabilities. Now, if you don't trust yourself in your driving capabilities, I recommend going to driving school. I recommend driving around the block. I recommend driving to the grocery store more, and you're going to find that you become more confident just by doing it every single day. Confidence is not something that's given to you automatically. It's built. The more you do something, the better you get at it. And next week, we're going to be talking about talent versus skill. And people might think, well, what is talent? What is skill? And we're going to be talking about that next week. So make sure you tune into that. But right now, we need to go to step 2. And that's going to be setting clear expectations. Now, of course, clear expectations just are going to be, aiming at what is a specific goal we have, right? What do we want to do? Most people are not clear on what they want. So then they call me for a consultation. They're coming into the office and they're just like, hey, I don't know what to do. I feel stuck. There's this area of my life that I'm not happy in. There's this area of my life that I'm not happy in. You have to start to ask and wonder, well, if this is happening to you and it's happening to so many people, what is the overall problem and how so many people are living in this? It's like it can't be because of, everyone's living wrong, right? Most people are just kind of moving through life and they don't necessarily give awareness. So then how can they have clear intentions because they're not even paying attention? So most people are not essentially focusing on life. They're just kind of moving through it. They're going through the phases. They go through school. They don't care. They go through college. They don't care. They go through a marriage. They don't care. But if you focus on those small moments, the things that might seem inconsequential, we can look at the smaller things because the smaller things always add up to the bigger things. You might not think it, but it is. Success is not something that is one thing. The reason I'm successful is because I wake up early. No, the reason you're successful is you wake up early. You have good daily habits in the morning or a good morning routine. You have good structure in your day. You're doing a whole bunch of stuff because I could wake up early and go on my smartphone. Doesn't make me successful. So success is going to be derived by many different things. And the same thing happens with growth. So we have to go to step 3, create simple, repeatable actions, right? We have to wake up in the morning and we have to say, what is the simplest thing I can do that I cannot get distracted from? It's so simple, stupid that if I don't do it, I have to wonder, do I really even want to fight today? Do I even want to push myself today? Now, some people will check out early on in the day and say, hey, today's not my day. I understand. But we need to get in the habit of having more days we win than more days we lose. In the first year, you might say, hey, I barely made it to the 51% mark. But if we can do that the first year, the second year, we might be at 60%, third year, fourth year, fifth year. We're getting close to 100% now. Of course, we have to look at growth being something that's long term. I remember when I was young, I wanted to go on roller coasters and stuff. And I wanted to do things that adults did. And I wasn't tall enough yet. Now I'm 6'4", but I was trying to do these things and I was anticipating, I was like, man, if I was only a little bit taller, if I was only a little bit older. And I was waiting for that moment. And then when it finally came, yeah, I can go on those roller coasters and things like that. And it was a lot of fun. But the reality was, it was something that I waited for when I could have just said, what rides could I go on? It's a shift in the mindset because I looked at what I couldn't have rather than what I had. And this is where many people find unhappiness or they live in unhappiness because they're looking at the things that they want, but they can't attain yet. But growth is something that takes time. I wasn't going to sprout up to be 61 or 64 inches, whatever it is, to ride a roller coaster or something. Guess what? It took time. And I said, let me enjoy the growing process. And then eventually I'm at it. I'm at that point where I can go on the roller coasters and it's all good and dandy. Now I don't know if I'm too tall to go on roller coasters, but I always kind of slump down when I go in. When I go to Six Flags, they're like, "Oh, you're too tall." I was like, "No, I'm not. You just think I am." Right. So then I also say, look, like I have like shoes or something on, and then they're like, whatever. So they're just kids, high school kids. They don't want to fight. But either way, going into step number 4, use the power of cues and triggers. Now, this is just talking about your habits essentially, right? Because if you do something, it leads to something else. For example, if you pick up your smartphone in the morning, I know I use a smartphone quite a bit today, but if you pick up your smartphone in the morning, what does it lead to? How do you feel after you picked up your smartphone, right? I'm not talking about like literally you hit the snooze button, you hit the dismiss button. I'm talking about you literally go on social media and then now you're giving your brain all of the social media. For me, it was not good, right? It does not help me to do that. Now, if maybe I woke up and I have this idea, I might do some research on the idea, but typically it's business as usual. I'm like, okay, get up. What do I have to do? Do I have to go to the office first? Do I have to go to the gym? Like all of these different things that need my attention. So I'm figuring out what are the cues and the habits that are setting me up for either success or failure. So when you can identify those cues and triggers, you're going to be in a better situation. Because if you are getting close to, dinner time, let's say, let's switch over to diet, for example. Let's say you're getting close to dinner. You are getting those hunger cues and you're like, what do I need to do? Okay, I can cook or I can go out and get some food. And one of the things that many people do from their 9 to 5 is at 5 o'clock, they have the cue for dinner at 6 o'clock. So they say, let me grab something on the way home. But what they grab is fast food. The fast food that you grab, it might take 5 minutes to get it, but then you can order from a restaurant. It takes 15 to 25 minutes, at most 40 minutes to get real food. So even if you planned a little bit better and you don't want to cook, right? Because you don't have to cook. We have so many restaurants that are good. I know just in my area where I live, they have like restaurants that are all about meal prep. Like literally you can order meal prep food from them. And the food is actually pretty decent. It's not better than something I would make, but for, a meal prep service, that, they're really, really good. So if like I was ever like single or something, I would definitely say, hey, let me get a couple meals from them. Let me, get some salads and things like that for the week. And then let me make some, meal prep food. I'm good probably for the whole month already. So I don't even have to think about food. But that's if I was single. Now, of course, my wife, she cooks and I meal prep still myself. I make breakfast, or rather like a brunch, because I eat later. I don't eat breakfast. I eat like at 12 or 1 o'clock. And that's when I basically break my fast or I start my first meal for the day. I don't need breakfast. Breakfast is something very Americanized. It was like, hey, let's have a big breakfast. Let's have bacon, egg, and cheeses, and all of this toast, and all of these things that slow us down. Of course, many people are adapting a new type of mentality when it comes to breakfast. Let's have just a coffee. Let's have just something simple. Of course, those simple things are typically bad things, like sweet things. Let's have a donut with chocolate on it. You just woke up, all right? Your body wants water. Drink a liter of water and then figure out how you're going to feel after that water. Because most likely you're going to be ready for the day. If you have some type of hunger cue, put a little lemon in it and you're going to find those hunger cues are gone. There's many triggers that happen, and it doesn't necessarily matter if it's food or if it's like you doing something, like going on your smartphone, you speaking to a certain person, there's an interaction that happens within you or in your mind. There's many cues that you have to look at. If your kids are doing something wrong and you're like, oh my goodness, my day is ruined, it's a cue. All right. It's a trigger. Learn to manage those a little bit better. There's things that you can manage, there's things that you can't. Things that you can't, you just have to, again, give yourself a different demeanor on them, right? Kids are not always going to be kids. I don't go to my mom's house now and I'm, this kid that's, asking her to make me breakfast. I'm making her breakfast. All right. So there's different things in different stages of life you have to deal with. Then we get into 5, reward your progress. Now, whatever progress you make, whether it be business growth, personal growth, relationship growth, whatever, right? Don't just do the opposite. If you are trying to get a better body, for example, right? And this is all dependent on your situation. It doesn't necessarily matter if you are like trying to get to a better situation, career, better relationships, better health. It doesn't necessarily matter, right? Because all of these steps, step 1, awareness, step 2, intention, step 3, creating simple, repeatable actions, 4, use the power of cues and triggers, and then 5, rewarding your progress. All of these things so far are literally just the guideposts to help you change your habits. 5, you're not going to say, hey, I went to the gym today. Let me order a whole pizza. Let me go get a hamburger. It doesn't work that way. You can't outwork a bad diet. So you have to make sure you're still giving yourself ample cues and ample habits or good disciplines that are going to lead to you winning later on. So the rewards that you give yourself in moderation. And then, of course, you have to say, is this going to be beneficial to my goal? If you're trying to lose 5, 10 pounds, you have to make sure that you're doing things that are not gaining, right? You're not gaining weight. If you're trying to be in a better mental state, you're not going on social media, in the early mornings or late in the evenings. You are doing things that are more beneficial to yourself. What are things beneficial? Just for people, journaling, reading, writing. Those things are beneficial, okay? You don't even have to read. Listen to the podcast, listen to something, right? That's motivation, that's inspiration, that's going to uplift you, that's going to transform and put your mind in a better state. That could be a reward. Because everyone thinks a reward is, a gift, a new pocketbook or like a new device, a phone, like electronic, some type of food. All of those things, yes, they might be good gifts, but a reward doesn't have to be that. A reward can say, you know what? I earned 5 minutes of social media. I can watch a 30-minute show. I earned, the ability to lay down and just close my eyes and take a little nap, right? Whatever it be, you figure out what that reward is to you or for you. And then 6, of course, is going to be leveraging neuroplasticity. Now, neuroplasticity, again, is just the ability to change how you're thinking. Now, neuroplasticity in a nutshell doesn't necessarily happen because we're like, hey, I want to change real quick. New Year's, neuroplasticity is definitely forefront, but it's not going to be something that's going to be paramount long term. It's not neuroplasticity come New Year's. It's literally motivation come New Year's. So people are motivated to do something, but they're not motivated to change. Pay attention. There's a difference. Are you motivated to change or are you motivated to do something? And most people are just motivated to do something. And eventually that motivation to do something is going to just dissipate. Change is something that if you want it, you have to do anything and everything to get it. When you do it long enough, neuroplasticity is going to rewire everything about your doing and your thinking. But the thing is, it's not something that is in 30 days or in 60 days or even 90 days. Of course, there's certain studies and research, and we can look at a person-to-person basis. It only takes 30 days to really solidify a habit. How long does it take to break that habit? Less than a week. So we spend 30 days to build something good, and then in less than a week, we can destroy it. And that's what happens to many people. They get hurt. They get a different mindset. They are ruminating on something, and they are making themselves to be the victim, when the reality is you were always the victor. Lastly, we have one last part to talk about in this article, because internal growth essentially is what we're looking for. We're looking to be in a better place. Our habits can either make us or they can break us. And for the people who are allowing them to break them, you have to ask yourself, do you want to stay there for a very long time? Most people don't want to be uncomfortable. So why are you doing things that are making your life more uncomfortable? So we have to remember to stay consistent. We have to overcome obstacles, and we have to achieve sustainable success. And if you can look at the 6 steps I gave previously to build habits, and then you looked at these aspects for internal growth, you're going to, figure out which is for you. You might need more habits in your day. or build better habits in your day. And then you need to focus on internal growth a little bit. Maybe you need to focus on internal growth a lot more so then you could begin those daily habits. There's always a right mix for everyone. And, for example, I don't mean to like use colors as like being racist or anything, but if you're trying to like mix colors, right? Red and blue make purple. If you use too much red and not enough blue, you might have a deeper, darker purple, right? Or maybe it's a different color, right? Maybe you're mixing yellow and blue, you get green, right? But maybe you mix a little bit more yellow. So now your green is a lot lighter, right? It's not like a deep, dark green. So there's different variations that you can mix, all right? Maybe you want that deep, dark green, right? The olive green, not the light grass green or the yellow green. You figure out what colors you want. And the mix, essentially, the analogy there is in life, you get to figure out what mix works for you. Not everyone's going to like royal blue. Some people love sky blue. Not everyone's going to want to go to the gym every single day. Some people are just going to want to do yoga in the evenings. Some people are just going to want to go for a walk around the block. Some people are not going to want to listen to motivational and inspirational and educational content every single day. So they instead opt to journal. So they are allowing their thoughts to flow freely so they can have a clear mind and be concise in their actions and their decisions. It depends on where you are. And I encourage everyone to check out this article here because it is a wonderful read, if I have to do say so myself. TUS Part 68, Integrated Growth, Training Your Brain to Build Lasting Habits. And oh boy, if you read this article and you make it maybe a weekly staple, you're going to find that you're going to have better daily habits long term than if you just said, hey, I would like to have some change in my life. I would like to do the new things, but I don't know how. And for the people who don't know how, of course, you can reach out to us, revenconcepts.com. We have helped countless people at this point get to that how in their life, to get to their why, to get to their purpose, to finally fulfill their mission. And the mission is not so much that it's a destination. And once you accomplish that mission, you're all done with life. The mission and the purpose of life is to find meaning. And at every stage of our life, there's a new meaning. So in your growing stage, when you're young, there's a different meaning. When you're a young adult, there's a different meaning. When you're an adult, there's a different meaning. When you're an elderly person, there's a different meaning. And you have to find the meaning. You have to make sure you live it every single day. And typically, those are done through your habits. So develop the habits you need in order to grow and to prosper. Of course, if you need help to facilitate those habits, reach out to us. It's only a click away. And then from there, neuroplasticity will kick in. And then it seems like automatic. Greatness is automatic. Good things is automatic. Happiness is automatic. And it's waiting for you.